we're in the middle of the Assyrian turn, first impulse, in the first play turn. And I'm going to pop off another point here to extend this hunger siege. This goes up from 3 to 4, and that means it's successful. The siege number is 2 more than the city's current defense, which is 2. I haven't worked on reducing that or anything. I'm only, I think, although this isn't, the way it's worded, it seems to imply it. I think I'm only allowed to do 1 siege action on any given city in a particular impulse. Sorry, I'm having real trouble thinking because my mind's so heavily on trying to understand the game, perhaps. Now, all that happens here, the city surrounders and remaining forces are eliminated. Do not place a city damage marker. For a capital, the siege number must be 3 more. Wait a minute, this is a capital. So I'm only up to 4. I'm going to have to wait another impulse before I take that on. But that's definitely something I want to get done. Now I got to try to remember, you know, that I didn't do that this impulse. Let's look at other things I can do. Do we have the differentiation? Okay, so here we do not have the differentiation between buying mercenaries and regular units, which I'm going to have to look in the rules for. Hiring mercenaries as a half AP per unit strength point. Okay. I guess I could buy back my regrouped unit. That would be helpful. I think that comes back in my own territory. And then I got to kind of deal with one of these problems that I have cropped up. Now I have quite a few problems cropped up. I've got Babylon and Edom, and I've got a fair-sized force to face them with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. I could rebuild 1 unit there and launch an attack. That's one problem. You do have a limit to the size of the army you can bring. So if I can bring that to bear, say, against a weaker army like either Edom or Babylon, that would be helpful. What I can't do, and this guy can only hold 6, 2, 3, 4. So he's got a couple he could build up. I could also combine into an army group, which would be of value as well, and that would probably be the better move here. So, I'm limited on how far I can move in a given action. I want to get close to these guys. 1, 2, I'll pick that up. That's my 6th. 3, 4. Anything else is going to cost me attrition, and I don't want to pay that. I want to get these guys in there too. 1. And I'm going to create an army group. Let's see what we have. There's my first general. And there's all these boxes. I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 guys there. I've got another general here. And I've only got 6 guys in that as well, or maybe 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys there. So I can rebuild a couple of guys, whoops, in my army. I'm assuming I can build in my home territory. I probably ought to look that up. We do have unit cost 9.7. That should give me some vision into... I got to make up my own index here, right? But I would do that under normal things. No, that's special unit abilities. Shit. Okay, maybe... hiring stuff looks like it's around 6.2 to 6.4. Somewhere in there, which seems a strange place. No, it's under the do stuff cost. So, building units Same rules for placing new units in a city or home area that's free of enemy units. In a city home area, sorry. Okay. So, I can rebuild this routed unit. Not rebuild, but, what's the word for it? So, the problem with taking him is I think he cost me 1 AP to regroup. If I pay that AP, I can just throw him off into like the trade boxes. So I may want to build real units. Mercenaries are cheaper than other things at a half AP each. I don't know if I have to spend special costs for them. I assume I do. And the special costs are built in here. So mercenaries are a half AP per strength point, where are regulars? 2 AP per strength point plus special. Special's not mentioned there. Is that intended or not? Instead of hiring mercenaries from the pool, I could sell them. Yeah, this is an option that players can make diplomatically, actually. I guess I can buy these cheaper. So I want to buy the best I can. This cost me 2. And I kind of like Bowman, but I'll get this heavy instead. That's 2, 4 points that I have to spend. That's some pretty cheap troops. That beefs up my army. Now I could build another force. I've got leaders, and I could start building another force to maybe cope with one of these other problems that's out there. This is my main army, actually, at this point. I should have little used markers on top of the things that I've used this phase. So essentially, I've used this army, I've used all of these, and I've used that. I do have a lot of points left. I could bank 4 of them. I'm going to spend 1 for all own and minor ally raiders. No, I'm going to spend 1 to move into the raiding box. That's why I saved this guy out here. He's going to jump out here. He's going to, you know, see if he can start knocking off some people's economics. That seems like a good use once you get things in that raid box. I do not have a navy yet. I don't have a port, though, either. Conduct diplomacy, 1 AP per space. So I've got choices like Persia that I could bring into play, or the Phoenicians that might be valuable. I think it seems worthwhile to me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I have like 6. 1, 2, 3. That's a lot of points, but not a lot if I'm building armies. Armies are very expensive to put together. I thought I had like 3 left. I was trying to decide if the Persian army is worth bringing into play. I've got a lot of people to punish, and bringing their stuff, if I could bring that up to alliance, seems appealing. Let's see how big they are. I have a decent little force. You know what? I think I'm going to bring them in. 2, 3, 4. up to alliance. That leaves me with 2 points left. I can bank those 2 points, and now I'm going to set up the Persians, and they're going to get a turn when it comes around to here. I'm done with my impulse. I can't immediately preempt. I'll remove the used markers, and I will take a 2 marker. Sorry about the speed when I swing like that. And put that over on, I don't know, my cards of some sort. I don't know where to keep it. But that's 2 extra action points that I have in the bank at this point that I saved up. And I'll set those Persians up. The next player in order is the Medes. I can't preempt them with Assyria because I had just gone. You can never have 2 impulses in a row. So, my count, I get 5 economic points. I have no tribute going in my favor. This is the time when I can sell my army group. I'll do so. That gets me 5 more. And now I have tons of points. I want to do my gathering of the tribes. But is that what I want to do for this action? I look at my other cards, and none of them, except maybe past impulse, where you get a bonus income, twice your eco level plus 3. So you're going to get the 3 extra points for this card. Can be used. I'm not sure how much of an advantage that is. It really is a pass because you get your economics twice, you get plus 3 points. If you don't have the kind of money to buy this card, it seems worthwhile. But I'm going to play this sucker for 5. That gives me an eco plus 2 in the Mede Far East box. That's going to improve my economics in the future turns. Hope this is a plus and not a minus. And that's basically how you level up with the Medes, is you just, do that gathering of the tribes. You can only do it when you're at peace. And I'm at peace. Nobody's in my territory yet. Assyria might cause problems for me later, and that's why I want to make sure I get it done now. Now, I only have 5 points total. I think I should build up some of my... I'm not even allowed to use my army card, which is why I have to do it. I should build up some more troops. I have 2, 4 here. I could use some heavier stuff, but I don't really have that. Mercenaries are the cheapest thing, but they don't last. I'm thinking the Assyrians might not attack me. So, with 5 points left, could I build anything reasonable? Let's say about... See, I don't know if I kind of want to keep the force composition, so if this was all horsemen, I would be okay. But I don't have any forces that are all horsemen. They have their own special abilities that are kind of pleasing. I don't really want to buy mercenaries if I'm not going to be using them, but I want to keep them in my pool. I don't want to sell them. Although I had to look up the rules on selling them, because if anybody wants to, it's like Egypt, who's coming up next. This is a hugely complicated CDG, and CDGs are always problematic rules-wise. Instead of hiring mercenaries from the force pool, you may offer to sell them from your force pool to another country. These enter the map as usual. Pricing is unchanged. So basically, I think this would happen during another power's turn. The APs aren't paid to the game treasury, but to the power the mercenaries came from. So basically, and there's a restriction. Once you've sold mercenaries, you can't buy them from someone else. So say the Medes wanted to buy the Egyptian mercenaries, they could pay basically the building cost to the Egyptians, and that'll go in the Egyptian bank there for excess APs or whatever. Obviously, I'm not interested in doing it with the Medes, but some of the people who are at war may be interested in offering some purchases. Either side can, the seller doesn't have to give. So with only $5, this would cost 5. This would cost my whole wad of money. There's nothing easy I can just do with $1 or action point or whatever that comes to my mind. Supply enemy units in enemy territory. Obviously, that was one of those rules. I don't have. So when do you have to do supply? Good question. I marched in there, and I think I had to supply them. I'm going to give a pillage 1 box here, I guess. We have a rule on that shit? 6.10. Let's see how that's worded, because at the start of an impulse. Okay. Okay. And that's each force. That means if I just garrison, I'm going to have issues there too. And strangely enough, supplying an entire force is just 1. So maintaining a garrison looks like it's going to be annoyingly expensive. Of course, the attrition checks aren't so bad for 1 unit, but yeah. Interesting. Okay. I don't know how to cope with that. That rule seems a bit too harsh for my taste, but we'll see. And these guys started in 1, so I had to pay 1 for them. I'm gonna pillage it, I guess. I don't know. Every impulse I'm gonna have to do this because well, maybe I can get out of there after the siege is over. I just don't want to pay my action points off for this. Okay. So what else would the Medes want to do? Because I have to spend 1 more. I can't buy a new card. You can only do that when you're out of cards. I think basically I want to buy a new unit. I'm going to spend all 5 of my points and build one of these. I'm not absolutely thrilled with this idea. Now we're in here, and Assyria is going to have an option to interrupt. They probably don't want to. But if they really wanted to get things done, they could do the preemptions and get a lot of actions very quickly. So I've got to think about that. If I want to wipe these guys off the map, maybe I do want to preempt. Even Egypt, who's not going to be a threat to me, but that'll get me more actions before they and their allies get to do much. Jump back a little bit. Back, not in the Mede turn, but in the Assyrian turn, they wanted to make a conquest check against these Urartu. The thing is, if they can knock them out of the war, then they can concentrate on other things more fully. Either way, they may want to take a preemption, because if they don't take a preemption, Egypt gets to go. But I just want this quick check here. I don't think there's any cost to it, but when I took the minor city, let's see, against a minor, I just have to control 1 square to do it. And then, well, I'm going to have to roll equal to the number of cities, less than or equal to the number of cities captured on 1 die. So I have a 1 in 6 chance of taking them, but okay, so I conquered them. What does that mean? That means everybody else is SOL here. I believe I pull this out and I put it over here. Any areas it controls outside the home country switch, the conquered country must pay tribute to the conqueror at once. What I think that means is that we look for They're over here in the -1 box already. They're paying tribute. Does it mean they stop paying tribute to the guys they're no longer allied with? I think so. So that's here. This tribute goes down, and this tribute goes up. Again, just guessing here. If a minor city or minor country, its political status marker is put in the conquest box, any relations it had with any other power are terminated. If an active minor is conquered, it becomes inactive. Its remaining forces are going to be removed from the map and are placed in the minor's home card. Should the minor be activated again, this setup is ignored. The current cards are going to go up there. Well, shit. So, this has always been my gripe about this, which is these guys don't rebuild if nobody's playing them. I'll try to play it the way it is. Conquest of a power ends all the alliances. Yeah, it wasn't a power. Minor cities in the power track become neutral. If the minor is conquered, there's a grace period during which no one except the conqueror can use AP or card events to influence it on the diplomatic track. That is going to be at least a full game turn. So, until and through this interphase and through the next game turn, only I can influence these as Assyria. How do I mark that down? Shit, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to, like in EU and some other games, start keeping a historical record of what's going on in this game. I can occupy and convert an area to a province. The province can generate income for me during the interphase. Well, I took this Toprak thing here. It isn't worth anything, but it would count towards my cities. So I probably do want to take that. So I will probably mark that down as a thing. And I think I get some additional victory points for this because that's AP. I already took the lack of points for taking the city, but I've ended, that's not a foreign war. I conquered a minor, that's worth 1. And I think that's it. So I get another victory point over for the Assyrians. And I'm going to have to write down some information on having taken that. I'm also going to have to withdraw these suckers who had an extra card expended for them due to the secret diplomacy. So there was kind of a waste for Edom to do that because they were so easily conquered. Now the chance of that could not have been, predicted. I am going to jump in with my preemption again. I have more cards than anyone else does. So, with Assyria. So now I recalculate my points, and now my eco is higher. My eco is still the same, because I don't recalculate the city base or anything like that, but my tribute's gone up. So I'm up to 15 as my economy, plus I have 2 of these. So I'm going to have a 17-point base. And I'm going to have to think about my cards a little. I just want to show you how these get thrown into that total. And now I have more points. My main goal at this point is to swing in and try to conquer maybe one of these major powers down here with my big army group. And I may be able to do something else. You have to remember, the Medes, well, they're hard to conquer. But maybe I can get them to surrender, or at least punish them for their failure. They don't have that many armies, but I have to take all their areas to conquer them. And then alternatively, there are other things I want to do. I have my siege that I want to continue. And I have to worry about that right away, right? I have a pillage marker here. This is now my territory, so I don't have to worry about feeding those units. But yeah, other than that, We should be cleaning up the siege, and maybe we'll end up getting a full surrender or something out of Israel there. Hadn't gotten a conquest, I probably would have wanted to play this deportation card. It's only 1 action point, and it gives me an eco plus marker and puts an eco minus in the territory I conquered. So I kind of, this is just right after a battle when you take a city. I kind of get the ability to move the population into Syria and, you know, start improving my economy at the cost of those I hit. Just, you know, one of the many things that you have as an ability as Assyria. Each turn you get to do that once, and it's kind of a neat strength. Foreign wars in this are significantly different, and that's what the Assyrians are playing. Remember, the second card I wanted to play was this, the Mede versus Elam. I can play this for no action points, so it doesn't cost me anything. I must play a card. This is going to be a war between the Medians and Elam. Now, how does this work? Well, first we roll a die for how many units for each side have to go in there. And I think both sides must commit X number of units, essentially. I'm looking for... I think they each roll. I'm not sure. So let's do the Median. So they're gonna, this is, they give rules here where it's halved, so that's how I'm gonna do it. So for a D3 instead of my normal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 split, which if you're used to, you'll see. So he's got to put 3 units of Medea on there. And I'm gonna just grab these units from way back here and throw them on. Because they're the least likely to be easy for me to get into position. And then the other side is Elam, which is only going to have to put 3 units as well. Very much of Elam left. This will be these 3 in the back. Okay, how does this work? Shit. It's hard to operate with one hand. Alright, there we go. So now what we're supposed to do next is roll a die for that many impulse rounds. So it's going to be 3 rounds. They say put the die on it. I have too few dice to do that, so I'm going to use one of these markers. That doesn't mean 3 of these little spaces. What it means is each time the marker receives the first country named on the card, which is Mede, will be over here each time it swivels through that. And that is not right now, because we're already just past it. It's going to go down by 1. Eventually it comes to the end, and you roll to see if the units survive. Some of them may go into the regroup box. There are penalties if you don't have enough units. You have to immediately create them from, or else take victory point losses. There's one other option. You can pay action point, put a leader in the foreign war, and fight a field battle. If you win, the foreign war ends. If you lose, the duration of the foreign war is then doubled. And that's terrible for everyone, right? I mean, both sides in the war are screwed by this. So they would probably rather lose the foreign war. It's a weird situation because the 2 countries involved are usually in the game. But anyway, that's what my card play is. And now I'm going to start spending those 17 points. Not quite sure what I'm going to do. I'm gotta count my troops. I think I've got a full army there. I think my main goal is to move down here. But before I do any of that, I'm going to spend 1 to crank this hunger siege up 1. Let's just go on to a 5. Now that is 3 more. So I believe we just took Samaria. Right? Yes. Which means all the troops in Samaria have been destroyed. And we're in the city. Leave a garrison there as need be. I'll figure out what's going on in a moment. But now we make a conquest check over here. Because we just took their capital, I think that's still only worth a 1 chance of a conquest. Yep. The capital counts as 2, so 1 or 2 sends them over. I do not conquer them. I have the choice of spending that card for this, but here's the thing. I would rather screw with a major power with those cards and the deportations than to take you know, these minor Israelites out. So I'm going to just stay where I am. I do have a problem, though. In terms of holding this, I need to garrison it, and I'm going to need to pay an action point a turn until I conquer them. When will I conquer them? I'll conquer them when I take Megiddo. I believe I'm used for having... I need the used markers. I forgot I put them over here. For having done a siege. I'm not sure about that. I know if I fought a battle or moved, I would be used. Yeah. If I had just... So, the thing that would have allowed me not to make it siege is if it's an overrun. Taking a city by assault or in 1 round of siege. I certainly did not do that. So I've got the problem that I'm going to have to deal with these. Now I got to consider, though, how I want to launch my invasion and such not. And I need a rest. Doing a whole impulse, a whole player turn on in this game is really, really rough for me. It may get easier as time goes by, but this is what we've got set up. I think I did my must play here. And by the way, no, they're allied. They're at war with me already over here on this track. What are they doing all the way over there? They should be here. Okay. I spent 2 points so I can move here. Now, either of these guys could intercept me there, but I don't want to. I'm moving here. Now, this black line, does that mean river? I think so. It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like there aren't many choices. Like, whatever you're crossing some kind of terrain. In this case, I'm going to try to intercept with these guys. How are they going to intercept? They're going to need a roll of 7 or higher. Any modifiers? There we go. So it's going to be just the action rating. And I rolled 2 dice, I believe. I got a big 3 action rating. He would have actually been easier to pick on his own. We'll see. It looks like they missed. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. And I believe the retreat decision in the sequence of battle is before you do an interception attempt. We could have used cards for this. I don't think anybody had any. Let me check. We got a pretty piss poor roll, but yeah, we're not going to have anything that helps here. Asylum, remove mercenaries under Elamite control and replace them with regulars. So if I had bought mercenaries, I could use that. But anyway, we haven't gotten to an Elamite turn. So we're able to hit Babylon here. I'm not going to go through the details of the battle. I'll come back and report on it, as well as finish up my turn, because I've got a whole bunch of points for these Assyrians. The losses were extreme, including an auto kill in there, plus like enough hits that it wiped out the entirety of the Babylonian force, including the leader. And that's interesting because we have overrun. which means I can spend another action point to swing up here and launch an attack on the Port Edam. I don't know what to do with them, you know. They're probably going to want to try to withdraw. Oh, I forgot about the river. Hold on. One extra battle die. This is an extra 3 points. Okay, so they got an extra hit. So they do 3 hits on the Assyrians, and all these heavies made them basically immune to bow fire. Really, really potent fire here. I take these. I'm not going to take any routes because of that. Because I only get 1 route, and my leadership is enough that I prevented that. So what that means is that I get to cross this river. Mountains are better than rivers, so I'm going to try to evade out of Ben Luron. If they succeed in evading out of Ben Luron, I can set up a siege and try to take that. You need to take a number of cities. I'm looking at Edam as an easier person to take out of the battle than I see, especially with these Persians in place, than I see Babylon as being, because to take Babylon out, I have to take out their big capital. Susa is a smaller capital. I think it's the easier target. And then I can focus more on Babylon next turn, maybe, if I don't manage to wipe them out this turn too. I don't think I will. But there is also the possibility of a surrender offer, which if somebody gives it, Assyria is sure to accept. Assyria is not in this position where they necessarily want to punish people terribly for their, being at war with you. That doesn't really help them. What they have to worry about is doing it quickly. Get out of that war and then go fight the other wars that they have to do, because they're basically up against the world in this game. And as long as they're doing well. If they start doing very poorly, some of the world might decide, hey, I can maybe get a few more points fighting on Assyria's side here, or whatever. So anyway, let me check my evasion here, which I think requires a 9 basis, and my leader's a 3, so I have some chance of getting out of there. I don't think the Assyrians have a card to stop that. So we're going to slip away. And there's a revolt there that I clean up. Yay! That would have been kind of annoying to have the Assyrians push into there. Were the Persians going first? No, the Persians go way back here. Elam would be going here, so they would have been able to clear it up. Now, I had to spend a point for that move. Now I've got kind of the choices of, do I want to keep pushing forward? Well, I kind of do, because if I don't push forward, or I kind of don't, because if I, well, I can trace supply through here, but I need to capture a certain amount of cities, etc. So I'm going to open up a siege here, and I'm just going to assault that sucker, because it's so, 2-point cities are pretty easy to take out. For me to conquer that, I have to look. I think it's at least 3 other cities in the capital, or 5 cities total, if I recall correctly. So, I mean, I've got a number of things I've got to take. And we'll work our way through Elam and see if we can take Edam and see if we can take them out of the game. Well, not out of the game. We don't actually want to wipe someone out of the game. That's an important factor. You knock someone out of the game and they come back as one of the barbarian tribes. Those barbarian tribes can come in and kind of, they're kind of neutral. They have their diplomacy, so you can ally with them, but they also are active as neutrals and can kind of throw a monkey wrench in either side's position. But if you end up making one constantly aligned as a player, he's probably going to be more of a problem for you as Assyria than he is as a neutral who comes in and causes trouble. Next move was pulling Sargon down here, collecting some more troops here. I'm not sure which way I'm going. I think I'm going to go after the Phrygians. But basically, I'm kind of heading southward. I'm probably going to pick up this unit and try to position myself where I can punish both of these. I've got a pretty good force there. It looks like I'm probably going to be able to fight my way through here pretty easily. Maybe even punish the Medes if I conquer Edom. I really do want to conquer Edom, though. But I think a big penalty. I forgot to give myself points for that battle. Shit, I don't remember how big they were. I think they were only worth 1 point. I don't think they were big enough. I don't think they were more than 10 units. I did more than 10 hits. All right. Now I've still got a lot of points, though. I've still got 9 points left, and I'm not quite sure what to do. I can put my used marker here. I could start another army group. Those are expensive, but I've got a lot of mercenaries, which are not expensive, and that might be a pretty decent step to take. Alternatively, I could throw a lot of points into, say, bringing the Phoenicians up into my alliance sphere. That's is there a limit to how much dip you can do on one power? I'm sure there is, because otherwise you could fling all your points in, you know, and grab a buddy real easily. Trying to see where they might talk about that. Eco-deportation. That sounds like my deportation. See, this is what's funny. Oh, this is only if there's eco pluses, if you're hitting a rich area, but I can deport people who aren't even a wealthy little artisan community or some such. Okay, so let's see what I might do here. Diplomacy is in here, I know it. Probably after the battle rules, but maybe not here. See, this is conduct politics. This is something different, isn't it? APs. 1 AP must be paid to move a diplomatic marker 1 space. Israel and Judah cost a half each per space. You can usually move it only... Can't use more than 6 per impulse in an action. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would get me a good ways towards that. I'm going to add Phoenicia to my sphere. I just think adding more countries that automatically pay tribute and that help me fight sounds like a good idea. I got 4 more points. I'm going to use the remainder of my points to rebuild units. I'm not going to build up my mercenaries yet. By rebuilding units, what's the bonus there? They're still expensive to rebuild, but the idea is, and this is the one place I found something about tracing. I can trace supply back to my home. I have to do it through connected things. This may be an effect of that, but I think they intend for the APs that you spend for supply to have the same problem. So here, I think I've got some damaged units. I may have just destroyed them all, in which case I screwed up. Yeah, I think I destroyed everything except this guy here. So this guy will cost me 2 points to flip over. And I could do the same here. Is it really worth it for damaged units? I don't think so. I think I'll buy some mercenaries. So mercenaries are going to cost less. Actually, I have some mercenaries still. Let's buy some horsemen. These cost a half point each. So that would be 3, 4 points for these guys, and I'm gonna build them here. And those will be my other APs. The cool thing about building mercenaries as the Assyrians is they don't get destroyed every turn. So my mercenaries are actually better than everyone else's. Just like everything is better than everyone else's. I just used the preemption, so I'm going to flip this over to indicate I don't get a preemption until... Hey, I didn't expect that to work. And what happens if I flip this? Until after Egypt goes at the very least. Jump back a little bit. I don't want to spend this $3 on these mercenaries. The reason is I believe very strongly that it's a good idea to reserve points, even with the Assyrians between turns. You see the well, no, this isn't. The Medes had enough trouble. that I think they needed to spend all their points, but I just would like to hold those 3, especially when I'm just building troops that I may or may not really need given my next turn. I've got 5 points produced by Egyptians. I'm not going to go over this kind of procedural stuff as much anymore and look towards more about the story. For all the griping I have about the rules, and I think the biggest problem with them is more the presentation and general flow. Yeah, there are little piddly things. I could get over those. Unlike, say, EU, though, I never got a really good idea of what the game flowed as. I really had to bang my way through the rules again and again to kind of understand what the game was going to be about. Now playing it and looking up the rules and trying to find them, yeah, that works a little better, but you know what? There are better ways to write rules. Games which, you know, the CDG functionality, for example, the first time you face that, that's tough. But there's a lot in here that really could have been explained in a much more intuitive manner that is just done way too much as, well, here's what it is. And then you start throwing in some of the other issues. But honestly, what looks like it's here is a pretty damn interesting game so far. Interesting mechanisms in play. It's taking some effort to get used to them, especially those big points. It's almost like an I go, you go game. So your normal CDG has such limited play. You know, you play a card, you get to do kind of one thing, or maybe in a Here I Stand or something, a small handful. But here, especially Assyria, gets so many points that they can throw into play and do so much off of it. Very interesting mechanism for handling the asymmetrical nature of the era, where Assyria is such a big bully that it can, you know, just steamroll stuff in almost no time before other things. You know, Babylon has no army anymore. They can rebuild one, you know, right? They get their points, they get to put stuff up. They're not destroyed, they're not conquered. But it's going to take getting used to, but I think there's something very neat going on in this game, and I want, you know, it should be long enough that I can explore and understand a lot more about it. Egyptians sold their major army thing. Played this minor city pack that cost them 3 action points. Got them Petra. The reason that's important is now they get a point of tribute from that, and I pumped a couple of points into diplomacy with Judah. You might be saying, well, shouldn't you be attacking Gaza? Yeah, except I got another card and I can't play it as a plus card here. This is my home card? Where's my home card? Huh. There's danger my home card is here. Pharaoh takes actions. Relocate any number of units to Gaza. You can only use this if you control Gaza. That's part of my hand. The reason I'm not moving units yet is I have this nice reserves that allows me to throw a bunch of combat factors into play that I can put up near Gaza and start a siege with those. But I want to get the tribute going first, and these guys I'm going to want to get further on my track. I also have another rich card here other than the home card, which is very valuable. This one has a high expense, so I want to store up. That's why I have the 4 points there. I have this Persian alliance. Now, this is an alliance breaker card. I could crank the Persians down the Assyrian track, and that might be very appealing. On the other hand, the Persians aren't really something that I can protect. If I had some way of trading cards with people, and there are cards that allow that, it would be appealing. But as it stands, it's really not. What did I use with the extra cards? You know what? I'm gonna spend instead, because I can't possibly cope with that navy. I'm going to spend 1 point less on these guys. I think it's 1 point. And I'm going to move a fleet out into a trade zone, which I think costs me 1 full point, but I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to be listed there. 6 0.16. I shouldn't be looking this up. Yeah, from a C zone into a trade box, I'm going to spend that point to go out here, because that'll get me more potential wealth in the next turn. Now, I could still be in trouble. The Phoenicians could send their fleet out to cope with me, but I can't win a fight against the Phoenician fleet. So if they decide to deal with me, well, at least I'm fighting for something that might be worth something. So I've been cheating. No big shock there. You can't do a preemption in the first impulse round of a game turn. Too many rules to keep in mind, but definitely my fault there. So I'm not going to try to back that up or anything. We'll just say the Assyrians got off to a kick-ass start. But that means we're over to the Babylonians, and looks like they're pulling in 7 points because Israel has not yet fallen. Once Israel falls, which should be fairly soon, then they won't be getting that many points. And then we gotta look at their cards and see what else they want to do too. Look at this, I get a bit of confusion with the card. So the title of the card is take one random card from any tribe. But then in the text it says take a card at random from target opponent's hand. What's not clear to me is, okay, what is a tribe? I think I can guess that that's the Scythians, the Cimmerians, maybe the Medes. Not sure. If that's intended that way, does it mean, well, first of all, is it intended, the title, to mean tribe in that sense? Is tribe defined? We can at least see if it's defined here. There does not seem to be a definition of the word tribe in the indexes. That's not necessarily a helpful thing here. Would there be any other way, or would you look at tribe as something, you know, more general? Maybe this is just wording that has nothing to do with it. Who knows, right? This is probably the card I want to play against Assyria if it's legitimate to do so. Unfortunately, I can't tell from the definitions in the game whether or not a tribe is, see that, no wait, there's nomad tribes, they're called nomads. If Arabs and Arameans are special mercenaries, Scythians and Cimmerians are going to be independent tribes. I'm guessing I can't use this except against the tribes, the inclusion of that word in the title. On the other hand, it would be nice if the card itself said something about it. I think we're going to find a lot of issues like this where you're going to have to kind of, you know, decide, do you play by the rules as written on the card or what seems to be the intent in the title? Here I'm going to go with that because what the hell. But I mean, most of them, the title is totally unimportant, right? You see Phoenician alliance, that just helps you realize, and it's spelled out here, move the Phoenician. It doesn't say move the target player or something like that, right? Okay, so the Babylonians play the Phoenician alliance as a breaker. This is going to cost them 4 APs. They paid that out. However, the Assyrians had this counter alliance breaker. This counters any alliance breaker as a response. It's not marked as a response here, but it's got a huge cost. It's got a 6 cost in AP. I got to throw that into play. I've got 3 points available. That's going to put me 3 more. So I can go into debt for 3 points, and hopefully I'll remember that that's how I'm representing negatives. And that kills the Babylonian card. They only have a few points to spend. They're probably going to just take them in the bank. I forgot to sell my army card. I'm going to continue my turn after taking those 5 extra points instead of just taking the 3 points there. Because the rules are so horrible to look up things in, I just stumbled across another error. I've been giving 5 points for selling back the army cards. I found here they're only 4 points each, so I docked everyone a point basically. That includes the Assyrians and the Medes, who probably wouldn't have spent that many, but whatever. Yeah. A rule book like this is just such a nightmare for me, between not having the indexing, but the most important thing is not having a good story flow through it. I mean, in this case, it's just kind of that feeling of I don't want to face the rule book again, so I'm going to pretend I know all the rules, make them up as I go along, and fake it. And, you know, that's it's a horrible way to learn a game because you learn it all wrong. But there we have it. All right, now we come to the first of the miners, and the Phoenicians have an economy of 2. Just like a major power, they're going to worry about that, but they have a tribute going the wrong way. So they're going to get just 1 income out of this, and I don't know what to do with them. And they must play a card. They don't have a lot of choices here. They're not going to have the kind of money to get lots of things. This one would be neat, but I'm not going to capture an enemy fortress, so I'm not going to be able to play this as a response. The Phoenician fleet card is kind of cool too. I'll keep that in hand and just play this for the extra points. That gives me 4. I could just sail out into here and use a point next time to attack the Egyptian fleet. I can't attack it yet, I don't believe. This is hard to... Of course, if all I have is 4 points, I probably shouldn't spend any. I should just bank those 4 points, huh? Assuming that I can bank points as a minor power, which I'm not sure I can. And you know, this is the kind of stuff where you're thinking, geez, I don't know. I don't know which way it goes. And now I got to flip through all this crap and try to read. And, you know, each of these lookups takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And it's just, you know, once upon a time I was young enough, I didn't mind doing that with things like Europa Universalis down there. I didn't have tons and tons of games that I wanted to learn, that I wanted to play on video or whatever. I would have something like this and I would say, well, okay, you know, it's easier to get into learning this game, but nowadays it's really tough, even with something, you know, this is an interesting subject, but man, not when the designers and the developers do such a crap-ass job of presenting it. And after Israel built some forces here, we swing up through a bunch of people who don't get to go at all, because they're not at war or anything, up to Persia. Now, Persia played, use their home card, which is worth a whole bunch of points. They got 4 points left, and they're pushing up to punish the Medes. They're not at war, however, they can take that little penalty marker and force the Medes to pay points to the Assyrians. And then I screwed up and rolled their withdrawal roll before I looked at their cards. But they want to roll. They want to play this as the cards are coming. That's going to be extra attrition. Oh shit! Is there always attrition through mountains? No, just through deserts. Okay. I don't know what the extra is for. Okay. So what that's going to be is for each of the Persians, they're going to have to roll, and a 6 might take them out. So 1, 2. There's one under there. 3. So this guy took a hit. And then we got some more coming in too. 4, 5. And another one took a hit. And now I'm going to go with that failed withdrawal anyway, and they're going to get to fight a battle here. Even though they tried to withdraw, I think they still get the points for the mountain terrain that they're being attacked across. That doesn't end things. I misread or whatever. Didn't pay enough attention. When we look at tribute checks, or somewhere I just found it. Over here in consequences, countries that refuse to pay tribute can be attacked free of AP. Assyria is expected to punish those that refuse to pay by tribute. Check this coloring. In the tribute phase, if Assyria does not punish a tribute refuser during the game turn, the country gains an additional die for its tribute check next turn. Assyria does not have to punish those who refuse to pay tribute by player decision. Well, I've now just made Mede at war with me by attacking them. This is not a tribute attack alone, and that's okay. Can I conquest Mede? Probably not, but at least I'm punishing them to some extent for not paying their tribute. I'm making them pay some effect to that all. And what's kind of cool about that is that I've defeated them, I've knocked them into the city, and now I can start a siege of some sort. I'm not sure what kind I want to do. I don't think I want to attack a city that's got people in it. Because the problem is, well, I don't want to do an assault siege on something that's got a city in it. Because the difficulty with an assault siege... Jeez, I forgot to give extra dice for the Assyrians when they siege. The difficulty with an assault siege is I'll be facing these extra troops as well as the dice from here and the leader and everything else. So I'm going to just start a starvation siege. Chances are that the Persians can actually pay their units off, and this causes a cost. Medes can cancel the whole thing by coming to some sort of peace agreement or something, which might include giving tribute. And that's actually the end of the entirety of the first round of impulses. We swing back around to another Assyrian turn, and this video is going up, and yes, this game is going to take forever. But, you know, how often do you see a monster CGG? It's no monster, obviously. It's too small. But it is going to be a long game. You know, that's becoming very, very clear, at least the way I play it. Does it have to be? Well, maybe not, but there's so many more points available to each of the players in this, each action. And so many different operations that they can take, so many things they can do. It's not like, you know, just having a handful of 4 or 5 cards. These guys started with 8 plus 3 home cards, 11 cards, plus a lot of the other powers have the ability to produce enough income to keep drawing cards. So I'm not sure until everybody kind of runs out of cards that the game is going to end, that the turn is going to end. I think the Assyrian deck can just keep playing out because there are going to be other people who still have the ability to buy a card every turn. As long as they've got this, you know, the powers have economies that are big enough that they can just keep up. They're just not going to be doing much. All they're going to get to do is play a card for whatever few points that has on it.